It's me again, or does it, or as you all know me, Rashid. When it comes to the miracles Jesus did, we often make the mistake thinking that he did those miracles to impress us. No, Christ performed those miracles back then to educate the people who were alive. During the time that Christ walked the earth, there were many wizards and warlocks going around doing paranormal signs. And paranormal signs appear similar to true miracles. That's why Christ did miracles to educate his disciples and also the public between actual real miracles from the supernatural and the cheap tricks of the paranormal. So every miracle Christ did was for educational purposes. God does not work through impression. God works through conviction. Satan works through impression. That's why Satan always has to put on a big show, a big intimidating show to trick people into getting along with what he is doing. Because Satan doesn't have anything to offer on the long term. He's a thief, he's a liar, he's a scam artist. The Heavenly Father is the real deal. So that's why he works with your conviction. And once you're convicted the right way, then the power flows through you and miracle signs and wonders follow you the right way. Now, this is something we need to learn and understand. Because too many believers, they keep going to those churches to be impressed. And they don't realize that those signs and wonders are happening are demonic. But anyway, in this video, I want to discuss the walking on water phenomena that Christ did. Now, literally walking on water, it will not benefit you doing that today. There's no use for you to do that. Christ did it back then to educate the disciples. Now, if God wanted in a bad situation, you could walk physically on water, but that won't serve an educational long-term purpose for us. So for us, walking water is something symbolic. And that symbolic meaning will have a physical effect in our circumstances. Because for us, it's about dealing with life circumstances and life challenges. So what can we gain from Christ walking physically on water almost 2,000 years ago? Now, stop focusing on the walking on water. Because that is what too many of us focus on. Oh, walking water, so amazing. Okay, it is amazing. Well, actually, it's a common thing if you walk. It's a common thing for the Heavenly Father anyway to do miraculous things. But anyway, what it's about is the context. Let's go back a little bit. Christ and his disciples were ministering to a crowd of people. But the crowd was not receiving what Christ was offering them. The crowd was stuck in their old ways. The crowd was invested in their old ways. So why was the crowd there if they were not willing to do what Christ said? They called him Lord, but they didn't treat him as Lord. Christ was saying, why do you call me Lord, but you don't do what I say? Now look at this. Christ realized that the crowd was upset with the miracles, signs, and wonders Christ was doing. Christ knew that the crowd didn't want to let him nor the disciples go. The crowd didn't want to give up their poverty mindset. They didn't want to give up their victim mentality. They didn't want to give up their relief seeking. But because now they had proof in front of them of 13 men operating in real power, now they wanted to explain it away, but because they couldn't explain it away, they were about to turn on Christ and the disciples. Because that's how fallen mankind is. When they are clinging onto their poverty, and now they're confronted with riches, they will turn on the riches and the ones who have the riches. That's how fallen mankind is. If people are clinging and investing in sickness and then they're confronted with healthy people, they will turn on the healthy people to make them part of their misery. So, what did Christ do? Christ told the disciples, cross the lake. And they did. Now, when the disciples were moving away, Christ sent away the crowd. Remember, the crowd didn't have good intentions. So Christ protected the disciples by sending them forward. Meanwhile, he chased the crowd away. And there's something you need to understand. The same way Christ sent his disciples forward while he sent the crowd away, the same he's doing with you. Look, a lot of those people that left you, blocked you, unfriended you, that lost interest in you, a lot of those people that turned on you and left, what happened? Christ chased them away. Why? Because Christ wants you to move forward. Those people have no interest in moving forward. They're going through the same cycles of poverty, the same cycles of ruin, the same cycles of relief seeking, the same cycles of escalating and fleeing. They have no interest in actual solutions. So those people, they will turn on you. They will escalate on you at some point when you don't participate in the circle of misery. So Christ pushed you forward while he's chasing them away from you. So now, the disciples were on their way to cross the lake. Now, Jesus knew back then that there would be a storm on the lake. He knew that the storm would become intense. But what did Christ do? Did he warn the disciples of what was about to come? Did he give them instruction how to deal with it? In this case, Christ did not inform them nor prepare them. He just sent them ahead. Now, Christ chased the people away. Christ let them cross the lake knowing that they will encounter bad weather. He knew that the bad weather would be so much it would discourage them. And the bad weather was dangerous weather. When it was all happening and the disciples were stuck on the lake, at night, they suddenly saw Christ walk on water approaching them. But when they saw Christ, they didn't realize it was Christ. They thought whoever this figure is must be a ghost, must be some demon that comes to kill them. And Christ had to calm them down and reassure them, it's me. And as you know, Peter thought, hey, if the Lord's walking water, I want to do the same thing. He asked Christ to allow him to walk on water. Christ said, come. And look at this. The walking on water was not to go towards the shores. Because remember, they were there to cross the lake. So they were stuck on the lake due to the bad weather. It would have made sense to our understanding if Peter would have thought, Lord, let me walk on water. Let us all walk on water so we can walk on this water towards the shores and drag the boat with us. That would have made sense. But here's the thing. Peter was not even interested in the situation around him. He was focused on Christ. And when he asked Christ permission to walk on water, Christ said, come. Christ did not say, good, go to the shores, as I told you to. No. Christ wanted them to cross the lake. And they were hindered in crossing the lake, so Christ came for them. And Christ didn't even mention the assignment he gave to them, because he is above the assignment. And Peter understood this. So when Peter operated in faith, he could walk on the water. However, Peter's attitude was short-lived, because he realized eventually, hold on a minute, how is it possible I'm walking on water? Look at all the wind, all the storms around the storm. Look at all the storm around me. Look at the disciples in the boat. We were almost sinking. When his mind was diverted away from being Christ-centered, the darkness had a grip on him. And what happened? He began to sink. And right on time, Christ rescued him and said, "Ye of little faith." Now, and from that point on, Christ teleported them to the shores. Now, too many people focus so much on Christ walking on water. No, I'm telling you, Christ walking on water is not impressive. And by the way, there are wizards and warlocks that can counterfeit this with demonic aid. So Christ walking on water is not even an impressive thing. What is impressive is his attitude. He was not upset with the disciples for being stuck, not being able to cross the lake. Many of us, when God gives us an assignment, we become so consumed with the assignment that we begin to condemn ourselves, to blame ourselves, and to escalate on ourselves, calling ourselves failures. We become depressed, some even become suicidal and all of that because we so-called failed. And why do we have that attitude? Because that's how the world treats us. The world or society comes with expectations, and society doesn't care how you do it as long as you do it and gratify them. If you don't, or you fail to give in to what society wants, society discards you or escalates on you. Society is more interested in building prisons to imprison you than they have in sponsoring you to become better. Now, we are used to being smacked around by society. That's why we often take this attitude with us when we walk by faith, and we need to get rid of that attitude. When Christ came and they still didn't cross the lake, it wasn't because they were lazy or they were disobedient. They were obedient, they were moving forward, they were just hindered. And Christ showed empathy towards them. And from that point on, Christ took them to the other side. And once they arrived at the other side, it became obvious why this storm came. That storm, even though it was a physical heavy rainfall, it was caused by the demonic arm to keep Christ's presence away. So this is what you need to understand. When Christ sends you ahead to do his will, there will be demonic opposition against you. Sometimes not even demonic, or not even paranormal. Sometimes the demonic resistance will be of human origin. Sometimes it will be people escalating against you because they don't want things to change around them. Some people have no interest in improvement and only self-reflection. So when you come around with power and solutions work out from you, they will oppose you. Now, is that on you? No, that's not on you. You just have to keep on going. So think about what I've just explained to you. Christ's walk on water was not the impressive part. What was impressive and amazing was his attitude. How many of you are still carrying luggage? How many of you developed unhealthy coping mechanisms because you felt like a failure, or you had the fear of failure? By the way, fear does come from their father anyway. Or because you want to avoid being blamed. You were too afraid, you were too scared to make steps in life. You were too scared to be involved with other people because you were afraid they might blame you if things go wrong. That's a worldly attitude. The Heavenly Father will never blame you when you do his will. When you do his will, what can he blame you for? You do what he told you to do, and it's his responsibility to take care of the rest. We need to learn to operate in faith, trusting the Heavenly Father. Look, Christ did not inform them about all that's ahead of them. He didn't give them all the details. He didn't even tell them that when they're stuck, he will come walk on water. No. Christ didn't inform them about everything. Now, sometimes Christ did inform them about stuff, sometimes he didn't. So understand this. This is the sovereignty of the Heavenly Father. He will not inform you about everything that's ahead of you. There will be bad things happening to you or bad things happening around you. That's true. And Christ will not inform you about all of those things. Because if he would, it would discourage you. You would think, oh dear, walk by faith is too difficult. But here's the thing. Because you don't know all the details of the bad things ahead of you, and you persist anyway, that's how your character is built. That's how your character is refined. That's how you become better. So the retaliation and the escalation of the world that will come against you, Christ will tolerate it to happen to you, because with that faith attitude you have, it will only have the opposite effect of what the world expects. The world expects when they escalate on you, when they retaliate against you, you'll be discouraged and will give up, or that you will become just as angry as they are and begin to fight them. In both cases, they've won because because in both cases your mission does not continue. When you give up, that means they are secured from your influence, and when you turn and escalate on them, like they do to you, you're on the same frequency, so you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Instead, because you have this fake attitude, you will improve and develop as a human being. And this improvement will be seen by everyone. And while you improve, you become more flexible and more practical. So everyone will be exposed then to the power of the Heavenly Father working through you. That's why He doesn't inform you about everything. And here's the thing. You will improve, and from you improving, better things will happen both to you and the people around you. And that's how the Heavenly Father is magnified and glorified through your weakness. God's strength is made perfect through your weakness. Now, God's strength is perfect already, but it's made perfect on the earth, so it manifests in an excellent way through your weakness. So, stop expecting God to inform you about everything ahead of you. He will not. Just trust Him and keep moving forward. Be at peace.